803 West Holland in the city of Alpine, Texas, for the purpose of considering the attached agenda, including a council workshop. The notice is posted pursuant to the Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.043, Texas Government Code. Public notice: the use of cellular phones are prohibited in the city council chamber during meetings in the city council. Members of the audience will be provided an opportunity to address the council during public hearings and during action items. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium. State your name and address, and if you have a petition or other information pertaining to your subject, please present it to the city secretary. State law generally prohibits the council from discussing or taking any action on any issue not included on the agenda, but if appropriate, the council may schedule the topic for future discussion or refer the matter to staff. No personal attacks on council members or city staff will be allowed. The mayor may call a point of order to stop personal attacks. If an individual continues to personally attack an elected official or staff member, they may be barred. Now call the meeting to order. We'll have the invocation led by the Reverend Alan. Am I correct? Yes.
Pray together. Gracious Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you, Lord, for the opportunity that you give us to serve, Lord. And for all those here, I pray that you'll give them clarity of mind. And Lord, I pray the things that are done and said in this room, in this city, Lord, bring you honor and glory. Grateful for this time. We honor you. It's in your name we pray.
Amen. For the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
City Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Mayor, we do have a quorum, and the notice was posted at 8:30 a.m. on February 15, 2019.
Thank you. We don't have any presentations or recognitions today. I don't have there's no reports and no public hearings, consent agenda, minutes, financial reports, department written reports, board appointed. We have none. And notice to the public: the following items are of routine administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background and support material on each item, and or it has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by council member, in which event the item or items will immediately be withdrawn for individual consideration in its normal sequence after the items not requiring separate discussion have been acted upon. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote. And item 7, information or discussion items. City manager.
Mayor, for the agenda, we have the council workshop to discuss city fees and charges and a master fee ordinance.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move on to the action items. No, I'm sorry, we got the agenda. I'm sorry, I've got bad cold. So, you want to start?
Mayor and council, in your packets, you have the draft ordinance that covers most of the fees that we charge in the city for various services. It was formatted in a master fee ordinance in order to make it easier to address fees in the future moving forward from this point. At a previous meeting, you all were provided with a spreadsheet with comparisons to what other cities were charging for those same services or similar services. After that presentation, it was returned back to the department heads to review, to determine, to come up with a proposed fee that could then be presented to you through this ordinance.
Okay.
And I believe that all of the departments
are represented here today. Except for the gas department.
Except for the gas department, they're not here.
I had thought when we talked about this last, Jessica, that there was going to be proposed versus current, and this only shows current. I'm sorry.
This is only proposed.
It doesn't show the current. So,
Right.
yeah, I went out to the file sheet and looked at the old stuff, so. Okay. There's no, I only have 87,000 questions, so you probably ought to end with me as opposed to start with me.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking at you.
Honorable Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we table the discussion on city fees and charges and the master fee ordinance. And I say this because the original proposal that was submitted to me, I shared that with some of the folks in my ward. And there was some confusion as to why these fees for one exist and why some of them are steep. So I felt like maybe we need to do a little bit more research. We also need to do maybe a little bit more public awareness so that folks out there know what these fees being charged are for and the funding that's collected from them, what is it?
Okay. You're making a motion to table this?
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a second?
That sounds reasonable.
Okay, I've got a second.
So point of order, this is not an action item list. But this is for discussion.
That's for discussion only. We're not gonna pass anything on it. No, am I correct?
You can table it like any other item, if you don't want to have the discussion tonight.
Right.
Like any other function you table.
Because it's a pretty lengthy, and I think we really need to be diligent in some of these fees. So I suggest that, and I agree with Ramon that we should table it, study it more in depth before we take action on it.
You're not taking action.
We're not taking action,
This
we're
is
studying,
just
but
discussion.
we're gonna table this. Okay, now, motion's been made and it's been seconded, and is there any discussion?
Yes,
Yes.
so the discussion is, what's the plan then? We got this 2 weeks ago, had the opportunity to go review it. We talked about it in information and discussion right here in council. We all agreed we ought to bring it back to a subsequent meeting, which was scheduled for tonight. And then that gave us the opportunity to go off and do some work to understand it. This is being proposed for discussion as leading to an ordinance. There will be, this would come to council at least twice more, along with the public hearing. So it's not clear to me is what else are we going to go do that would lead to that discussion?
Okay.
Because if we table it, last time we all talked about it, we'll bring it to this meeting. We brought it to this meeting, and now we say we need more time. So I'm trying to understand what more time is needed. I personally have gone to my constituents, had discussions, got feedback, got emails, had dialogue, and we're talking about it. So I just wondered how much longer it's going to take to go talk about it.
And I think Ramon also did the same thing, and you're only postponing to do what, the next meeting, or?
The only thing I recommend is, yes, discussion is needed, and I agree with Councilman Stevens that at some point, once we come to a point, or we come to agreement, then the ordinance will be shared with the general public so that we get a feedback on the city fees and charges. And then after going through it twice, then we would vote on it. But right now, it seems like this is rather lengthy. And to be honest with you, as I went through there and as I sat down with some members of my ward, they also felt like, my gosh, this is a lot of stuff in here. Things that they were not aware of. And then they looked at the fee specifically. As an example, the Animal Control Board, and finding out that the high fines for animals that have been picked up, and they felt like, why is so high a fee? And I felt like maybe we really need to study it a bit more on an individual basis and then come back and do further deliberation among ourselves. Maybe we should go to our wards and find out what their needs and feelings are as well.
Well, I would comment, and I appreciate that. I would comment that this whole fee structure already exists out in existing ordinances. The wisdom of putting it in one ordinance is so that we don't have to go through ordinance after ordinance after ordinance, which are all individual by department. So that was the rationale behind it. And I would agree, there's a lot of people I've talked to had no idea that these fees are in place, but they are already in place.
Yeah.
And
there's also some more that are gonna be added on to
there's
this.
something added, no question.
Right.
But I think part of the feedback's got to be, a lot of these already exist. What we're talking about is changing fees. Adoptions, for example, city currently charges $70 for every animal adoption right now. Has been doing that, and for those who adopt an animal, they know. And that's why I asked the question, how much and what will it take to go do this? I appreciate it's non-trivial.
Do you have a time frame?
I don't personally, but maybe I'll leave it up to the group to come to a time.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Levis, what other information do you think you need at this point? Because you mentioned like where the money goes to and things like that. Would it be helpful if in the draft of the ordinance, animal control fees, and then stated these fees are collected for the purpose of, and then whatever that is per department? Or do you want to see that in a separate breakdown?
Okay, I like the structure right now regarding putting all the fees under one ordinance. That makes a lot of sense. But I think that maybe we need further input for the public, at least from my end of it, from folks in my ward, to come back with a more, let's say, favorable response to our discussions. And people in the board don't even know a lot of this exists. In fact, one of the major items that came up when I showed folks about the animal control fees is cremation. And they said, my gosh, we have a crematory? We cremate animals here? And to be honest with you, I don't even know myself. And I guess we do. Yeah. So people out there don't know.
Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of tabling it, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries 3-2. So we'll table it for further consideration. And we'll have to set a date, a timeline on this so we'll get it over.
Can we set that date now?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that going to be another
What's that?
workshop? Is that going to be another workshop, a special?
Yes, ma'am.
So we are, Cynthia sent off the public hearing notice to be advertised for March 5th.
It's going to be in the paper on Thursday.
It's March 5th.
So it'll be the next week.
Next week.
No, actually, it needs to be published twice. It'll be posted the 21st and the 28th. And then council can do anything they want with it. Public hearings will start in March. But that's not going to be the case now since this has been postponed.
So,
Mick, is there anything that precludes us from having a public hearing
You can have
as
it,
part of this session?
you can have that, you can have public
We could
input.
continue and say that was a public hearing for the eventual ordinance
No,
adoption?
once we have the ordinance actually proposed, we must, under the charter, have
So
a
you have to
public
have
hearing
another.
notice. There's nothing wrong with having another public hearing prior to that time, but it won't replace the charter required public hearing.
And my concern is, we as council need the opportunity to talk about this amongst us. When you get into public hearing, we can't respond. And so my view is we need the opportunity to talk about this. In addition to numbers, I have concerns about the formatting of the document that need to be, for example, under water is gas and water. So there's a whole slug of formatting issues that need to get cleaned up before we can get into the fee discussion. We need to have, which is before we would have a draft ordinance, which is before we go to the real public hearing. So I just think we need a little more thought about what we think that might look like, particularly since we've asked all the city departments to be here tonight, and now we're going to say, have a nice evening, which they probably want to say they're going to go have their dinners. So anyway, that's why I kind of look and say, we ought to think about this a little bit, and if I think a little bit out loud, we have city council meetings on the 5th and the 19th. That's our regular scheduled meeting. Right. Would we be ready as council to be able to talk about on the 5th or the 19th?
Council?
I'm happy to do it whenever I'm ready to. So go into it.
So the 5th, guys?
So the 5th, or the other option would be a special meeting? Council? For council only?
Well, if it's council, it's got to be public.
Okay.
So that's what discussion and information allows us to talk about still in public forum.
So we do it on the 5th?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So for the 5th?
March 5th?
So March 5th, we'll put this on the agenda for a lengthy, it'll be a, my sense is for a lengthy information discussion. Having said that, now set for the 5th, let's talk about what the implications are for the notice, Cynthia, that you said you published for the 21st and 28th.
Yes, sir.
And it is advertising a public hearing for the 5th of March. So I presume we don't want to do that now. Okay, so,
We can call one back. Yeah, we can cancel the one for the 28th.
okay,
So I have time to do it.
yeah, okay, so you can, okay, so you'll pull those back, and then just from a sequence standpoint, so we'll do our meeting on the 5th under information discussion in the same format we were going to do tonight. That gives us another 2 weeks to go talk to our constituents, which is the right thing, gather information so we come back more informed. On the 5th, we'll have our information discussion, and then following up with that, our sequence is then, in theory, the 19th of March would be the next opportunity to look at the first reading of the ordinance. We probably want, and our what we adopted as a council was we would do the first reading. We could, and that would give us the opportunity to do any nits or lice or fix it or whatever, because I wouldn't expect to come out on the 5th with a final reading. With the 19th, we probably would. Given the 19th, that we reach alignment after the first reading, we could then ask that a public hearing be held for the next meetings, which would be the 2nd of April. That would leave time for publication. Nope, you're gonna have publication on the 28th and the 4th. So the earliest we could do it then would be the 16th of April. For a public hearing, which would be that'd be the public hearing, and then we have the latitude as council, having heard public hearing, so long as we don't make any adjustments, we could approve, but if we make adjustments based upon public hearing, we're into that loop again, which is another month. So,
yeah.
So that's just kind of the sequence.
So we just need to do our homework.
Yeah, does that all make sense?
Yeah, the only question I would have is for the March 5th meeting, as we, in open forum, get to our discussion. Will there be an allowance for the public to also participate?
Not every.
That will be a closed council meeting, in open forum. Then when we start, when we come to terms and then we bring the ordinance forth, then that's when the public.
That's what public hearing is.
Right.
Yes. And that looks like that public hearing would be, as I think we just said, the 16th of April.
That'd be the first one.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
First one for April 16th.
Yeah. And now that's still no different than on this one, since it's long. If this doesn't get published in the newspaper, but there'll be copies here at City Hall for people to be able to pick up and have discussions. and they can talk to all of us one-on-one, however they want. We have a plan. That's all. We got a plan.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's move on to item 8, action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of facts, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. Action items limited to up to 10 per meeting. Citizens are allowed to comment, limited to 3 minutes after being called upon by the mayor. Citizens are required to state their name and the ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in or own business or property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak at there's time available. Okay, we have none there.
Council comments, isn't it?
Council comments is next. So we'll start with, I think we started with you last time.
You did.
Yes, I did. So we Mr. Kirk. Councilman Kirk.
Well, I guess, thanks everybody for coming.
Same here.
You're next.
Is he done?
Yeah, he's done.
That
was a quick one,
Yeah, I don't mean to be a stick in the mud, but as most of you know, the last few months I've been in several hospitals here in Michigan. And I'm not trying to be difficult, but I have medical issues.
And I just wanted to thank y'all for coming.
Thanks for coming. Good to see everyone.
Thank you all very much for coming, and hopefully on the 5th, everybody will have visited with their respective wards to make sure that everybody's on board as to what the fees are, and we can bring it back and then present it back again. So thank you all very much, and I want to thank the department heads for being here also. I know you work all day and out in the field and the cold elements and whatnot, but now you go home and get a good hot supper early. Thank you all.
Cold beer.
No.
Mayor, next you have executive session.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Mayor, pursuant to Texas Government Code 55-1.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, assignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of the public employee, I move that we move into executive session.
Okay.
Second.
We need a break. 5 minutes. 5-minute break, please.
No, it's what you asked.
Oh, that's something you want me to read? One last.
Actually, there's a copy for everybody.
Okay.